The most thrilling season of the year is Christmas. And in some ways, this should be one of the best Christmas seasons that Americans have spent in many years. It's certainly been one of the best we've ever had. To have members of our own family here and our team family and Johnny and June Cash, what a Christmas season this has been for us. But this past year, we've visited a number of countries throughout the world preaching the gospel. And in many of the places that we visited, we sensed that some sort of crisis threatens the very foundations of their societies. Thus, as we celebrate Christmas, ominous clouds are gathering on the horizon in many parts of the world that could affect the whole world, including your world and mine. In addition, I'm speaking to many of you tonight who have your own personal crisis. It could be in your home, your health, your work, or just the pressures of life itself. But in the midst of all these problems, there comes the message of Christmas, with all of its hope, its goodwill, and its cheer. I think the message of Christmas has been generally misunderstood and misapplied. Some think only of business profits, shopping, gifts, tinsel, toys, and celebrations. Others think only of Bethlehem, of the star in the sky, shepherds in the field, and angels singing. And still others cynically ask, where is the Prince of Peace? But the real Christmas message goes much deeper. It answers all the great questions that plague the human race at this or any other hour. The Christmas message is relevant, revolutionary, and reassuring in a world of confusion and crisis. It can be summed up in three tremendous events: a birth, a death, and the climax of human history. First, the birth. On that first Christmas night, the Bible tells of the angel who said to the fearful shepherds, as we read a few minutes ago, "Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people." What is the real meaning of these good tidings? During various wars, many a mother tries to keep in memory of her young son's father fresh on the boy's mind. I heard of one during World War II who took her young son into the bedroom every day, and they would stand and gaze at a large portrait of the father who was away at war. And one day the young boy looked long and wistfully at his father's picture and said to his mother, "Mom, wouldn't it be great if Dad would just step down from the frame?" For centuries, men had looked into the heavens, longing for God to step out of the frame. At Bethlehem, 2,000 years ago, God did exactly that. He stepped out of the frame. That virgin-born baby was God in human form. He humbled himself. He took the form of a servant. He was made in your likeness and mine. He identified himself with our problems and the problems of the whole human race. Thus it was that the Apostle John wrote, "The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father." In the early days of the 19th century, the world was following with fear and trembling the march of Napoleon. Day after day, they waited with impatience for the latest news of the battlefields and of the wars. And all the while, in their homes, babies were being born. In just 1 year, lying midway between the battles of Trafalgar and Waterloo, there came into the world a host of heroes. During that year of 1809, Gladstone was born in Liverpool, Alfred Tennyson was born in Lincolnshire, Oliver Wendell Holmes was born in Massachusetts, Frederick Chopin was born in Warsaw, Felix Mendelssohn was born in Hamburg, and Abraham Lincoln was born in Kentucky. But nobody thought of babies. Everybody was thinking of battles. Yet 168 years later, with a truer perspective which the years enable us to command, we can ask ourselves, which of the battles of 1809 mattered more than the babies of 1809? What a difference the baby born in Bethlehem's manger 2,000 years ago has made in our world. The educational systems he has inspired, the social reforms that his teachings have instituted, and the transformation of families and lives and nations. Secondly, there's a death. Christmas, to have meaning, cannot be separated from the cross. The angel said at the birth of Jesus, he shall save his people from their sins. Jesus himself said, speaking of his death, to this end was I born. The Apostle Paul, years later, said to young Timothy, Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners. The central message of Christmas to me is that Jesus Christ, by his death and resurrection, can transform both individuals and society. Almost everyone at some time or another senses that he's a moral failure and suffers some form of guilt. Almost every newspaper or magazine that we pick up and almost every newscast we watch show hate, lust, greed, prejudice, and corruption, manifesting themselves in 1,000 ways every day. The fact that we have policemen, jails, and military forces indicates that something is radically wrong with human nature. Every time I board an airplane, they search my luggage, my briefcase, and sometimes even my clothes. Then I'm made aware again of the disease of human nature. You see, man is actually a paradox. On the one hand, there is futility and sin. On the other hand, there's goodness, kindness, gentleness, and love. On the one hand, he's a moral failure, but on the other hand, he has capacities that would relate him to God. No wonder Paul spoke of man's disease as the mystery of iniquity.